So good afternoon, Your Excellency, Honorable Speaker, national and international guests, ladies and gentlemen. So my name is Sophie, one of the moderator in this session. So first of all, I would like to extend my warmest welcome to the Cambodia First International Conference on Mentoring Educators, the theme of mentoring and professional developments for educators. And our conference is held for 3 days from 24th to 23rd December 2020. And today is the second day of our conference. So it is a great honor for New Generation Pedagogical Research Center, National Institute of Education of Cambodia to host this virtual conference. And your presence is the most important to the success of the special occasion, which involve many guest speakers from Cambodia and also from many countries. So before I invite our presenter, I would like to inform some information to all the participants that your microphone is muted by default, and please consider your appropriate manner when you turn on your video. You also can drop the question if you have in the chat box, and you also click on the link that I have dropped in the Zoom chat box for registration. So now I would like to invite our guest speaker, Professor Cindy Guerrero, Center for Research and Development in Dual Language and Literacy Acquisition, Texas A&M University of the United States. So please welcome our presenter. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi from Texas. Nice to be with you today. So today I'm going to share with you some teacher perceptions of virtual mentoring and coaching real time. We call that VMCR. And this study was conducted within a larger study, Longitudinal Literacy-Infused Science Intervention. My name is Dr. Cindy Guerrero, and I'm also presenting on behalf of my colleagues, Dr. Fu-Wei Tong, Texas A&M University here in College Station, Texas. So this is based with related research. You'll see our team here, Dr. Lara, Dr. Irby, Dr. Tong, and myself. We've had a series of 4 studies funded by the United States Department of Education to investigate and support teacher capacity, teacher instructional capacity. So we've had over 7 years of working with teachers to conduct virtual observations and virtual or remote coaching. So we've been able to do this with over 1,000 teachers and have over 363 hours of this virtual mentoring and coaching real time. So again, we are here with the Centers of Leadership and Education and Credella, the Center for Research and Development in Dual Language and Literacy Acquisition at Texas A&M. We're happy to be with you. So we're going to start by quickly just thinking about the similarities and differences between coaching and mentoring. So we know that coaching tends to be more focused on specific tasks or instructional behaviors, often performance driven. The coachee, the one receiving the support, usually has specific instructional goals that are the focus of the coaching sessions. And the coach who's providing the support is often assigned or provided by maybe administration in the school. Whereas we think about mentoring, it's more of a relationship of over time, and the mentor provides support beyond one specific task. It's usually development driven, more comprehensive. And what we found in our research and our experiences is that our coaching relationships can actually over time develop or evolve and grow into a mentoring relationship. And with the mentor situation, usually it's the mentee that selects the mentor. So when we conduct our virtual and remote supports in classrooms, this is the equipment that we use. You could see a laptop, a tripod, a webcam, potentially a tablet, a cell phone, and some kind of Bluetooth bug-in-the-ear device. So some options, this is the basic technology that you would need to be able to go into a classroom remotely and conduct this virtual mentoring and coaching real time. But there are, of course, some other options depending on the budget and availability. Some things to think about is to have dual mics. So maybe your teacher has a mic and you also have mics around the classroom so that you can easily hear the interactions between the teachers and the students. Another ideal piece of equipment would maybe be a camera that you could control remotely so that you could pan it and turn it around in the classroom and also be able to zoom in to better see the instruction and the interactions. And we know that technology is always changing, so sometimes you may have the option of using a tracking camera in which the teacher wears a necklace and the camera follows the teacher around the classroom. Or even now we have the opportunity to utilize robots and control the robots as they drive around the classroom. So I want to share with you today, briefly, 3 levels of this virtual remote support that we work with the teacher. So level 1 is virtual observations, which we call VOBs. So this is where the teacher is self-recording their own observation. The coach then later reviews that recording, provides that delayed feedback, usually a couple days after the instruction has occurred, and uses some kind of protocol to rate or support based on the goals of what they're looking for in that particular recorded lesson. So that's level 1. When we think about level 2, which is the focus of our talk today, this is a virtual mentoring and coaching real time, the VMCR. So this is where the teacher uses a bug in the ear device to receive real-time feedback from the coach. So the coach joins remotely, kind of like we're doing now. The coach would observe the classroom, provide real-time immediate feedback while the teacher is providing instruction to the students. And the goals of this VMCR certainly are for the coach to support the teachers, provide encouragement, help notice instructional opportunities, and to support teacher content knowledge. Maybe help them out to find the words to best describe a concept to a student or to the students. And in our case, in research, we're wanting to also increase the fidelity of implementation, that the teachers are implementing the lessons that we provide in the way that related to their training, in the way that they're intended to be implemented. So this is level 2, the VMCR. And you can see here we have just an example of the classroom, our equipment, and then the coach who is watching remotely in the classroom in real time. So we're going to talk just very briefly about some logistics on how we conduct these remote sessions. So certainly some lessons we've learned over our experience in working with teachers across the state of Texas is to first schedule and host a practice session. So certainly you want to work on any technology kinds of glitches ahead of time, certainly when the students are not in the classroom. So we always recommend to practice that, schedule that practice session where we test the observation equipment, we test the connections, we test the placement of the webcam. We want to make sure that that is in a place where you can clearly see instruction across the classroom, and certainly test the audio and the Bluetooth device. So here's an example of a teacher that may have that Bluetooth device in her ear, and she's either communicating through her cell phone to the coach or also could be Bluetooth through the computer. So the idea is that the coach is viewing into the classroom with the webcam, but it's only the teacher who hears the feedback through the Bluetooth device so that the students are not hearing what the coach is saying to the teacher. So step 2, before your VMCR session occurs, then is of course to schedule the actual session. We want to confirm the date and time and start 5 to 10 minutes early, just in case there's any kind of glitches. We've also found it important to send a reminder the day before. Everybody gets busy. We want to make sure that both the coach and the coachee start the session at the appropriate time. Then once the teacher and the coach log into the platform, again, you want to quickly check the webcam placement, the audio and the video, and to check that Bluetooth piece. Then, of course, you're into your coaching session. So this is where the coach is observing the classroom as the teacher is providing instruction. The coach can reference any lesson plans or goals or any protocols in which they're reviewing as a focus of that session. That way they can provide the real-time immediate feedback as the teacher is teaching. So here's a picture. This is a picture of my screens as I was conducting a VMCR session. So you can see here, I'm able to see into the classroom. I have the dual screens. I'm able to see into the classroom and the teacher interacting with the students. This is a 5th grade teacher implementing science. And then on my other screen, I had the lesson plan because her particular goals, we were trying to focus and support science academic vocabulary. So I was looking at the lesson, was she using the vocabulary accurately? How could I help support her to help the students in their science learning? So during the actual session, we want to think about, as the coach, it's really important, when and how do we give feedback, right? Because the teacher is teaching. So we want to think about providing feedback at a natural pause, or maybe even establishing some cue words so that if the coach, we don't want to interrupt instruction, right? So that if a coach has feedback to provide, maybe ahead of time, the coach and the teacher have settled on kind of a signal word. That way, for example, I could say pause. The teacher hears pause in their ear. The teacher steers the lesson to a quiet moment, and then the coach can quickly provide the feedback to the teacher. So we also want to make sure that as we're providing feedback during this VMCR, that it's very clear and concise. This is not the time, of course, to go into a story about when I was in the classroom, I used to do this, and let's consider this theory and why we should do this. In the moment when the teacher is providing instruction, we want to have very clear and concise feedback. So here's a few examples. If the teacher's goal is to improve pacing, the pace of the lesson, maybe some feedback could be, great job preparing the materials into table sets. Maybe they're doing a science activity and they have all these materials to do hands-on interaction. Great job preparing the materials. Having the students pass out the materials really shortened your transition time. So that was like maybe 10 seconds of feedback, but it's positive and it's affirmative. You're noticing the steps that the teacher is making towards their goal. Or maybe we see some behaviors that need some feedback. So maybe the teacher is taking 5 minutes and they're counting and passing out materials at each table. You start to see students not behave. The flow of the lesson is kind of getting slow. So really clear and concise feedback. Are there some students who could help you pass out these materials? So you're being constructive, you're addressing effective and efficient materials prep. Let's say that the goal of the teacher is to increase student engagement. We always want our students very motivated and attentive and engaged in the lesson. So maybe we see the teacher doing some pieces right, but still need a little bit of support and other strategies. So one example of clear and concise feedback. Nice job providing wait time. Let's try using your random sticks to call on at least 3 students to respond, right? So maybe that teacher kept on calling on the same student. So good job doing this, but now let's try this strategy. Or maybe you notice a student who is not engaged and has her head on the desk. The teacher's, busy teaching and doesn't notice that student. So you could say the student in the red jacket has her head on the desk. Let's walk over and monitor. Let's see what she's doing. So you're calling to attention. You're another set of eyes in the classroom to try to find out what's going on with that student and why the student may not be engaged. So here are just a few of the tools that we use in coaching. We want to make sure this is a coaching resource. We want to make sure that coaches give that positive, identify the strengths and give that positive feedback, and really focus on how the behavior of the teacher or the implementation of strategies impacts the learning of the students. And we've also found that sometimes our teachers struggle in reflection in their own instruction. So we also provide sentence stems to kind of help them think about what went well, what didn't go so well, what are some next steps that I'm going to take as a teacher to reach my goal. And then the third role is for us to have a reflective coaching session. This is where the coach and the teacher go back and watch the recording and specific timestamps and really look at this wonderful opportunity for the teacher to see themselves instructing and again, reflect and discuss strengths and areas of need. So let's talk about the teacher perceptions. In this particular study, we had 47 fifth grade science teachers. They participated in a literacy-infused science intervention that had many different components. We provided ongoing virtual professional development, we provided lessons, and we provided this VMCR, this real-time virtual mentoring and coaching. So the teachers participated in 4 sessions over the year. Our teachers were classified into 3 groups based on their teaching experience: novice teachers, mid-career, and veteran teachers. And they completed a 4-point Likert scale to rate their experiences and perceptions of VMCR. So here's our 2 research questions. After receiving the VMCR intervention, did the teachers differ in perceptions based on their teaching experience? We may assume that, just for example, a teacher who has 20 years experience maybe didn't get as much out of the sessions because they have lots of experience. So that's just maybe one hypothesis. Question 2, after receiving the intervention, did they differ in 3 themes? So what was their impression or perception of goal setting, instructional practices, and the quality of the VMCR? So here's what we found. Here's what the teachers reported. Before the first session, they felt a little bit nervous and unsure. They're really used to maybe administrators going in and evaluating, and we had to be very clear that this was a support. We were supporting them in their instruction. Teachers reported they became confident and motivated after they were part of this process. They felt supported and empowered, and it really helped, this coaching helped deepen those relationships between the teachers and coaches. And again, this is where it evolves over time into mentoring, because we work with these teachers over several years. One teacher said, let me know when I'm doing a good job. It helped me make improvements. Another teacher said the VMCR supports me with positivity and helps me become a better teacher. So in summary, these teachers provided or expressed these positive perceptions of VMCR across or despite their levels of experience. Regardless of years of teaching experience, we found that they reported that they benefited from this having this real-time feedback. They also rated the following areas highly: that the feedback helped them reach their instructional goals, that they were introduced to new strategies, that the coach's suggestions were reasonable, right? What they said in the moment was actually something that the teacher could turn and implement in that moment while they're teaching. They felt heard and understood by the coach. They started to develop that relationship, the coaching and mentoring relationship, where they felt comfortable sharing any questions and concerns. And we also found that it really helped boost the fidelity of implementation. We were giving feedback, and the teachers were better able to implement these research-related lesson plans as intended. So I have 10 tips here on what we learned, the best way to implement VMCR if you were wanting to do this in your context. So again, it's the purpose is another set of eyes in the classroom to help notice learning opportunities. It's not an evaluation. It's important to help clarify the goals of the coaching session so we know specifically what we're looking for and providing feedback on. Again, to have that test session for the coach to be familiar where the lesson or the activity is headed. Consider any signal words so that you're not interrupting their instruction and they can come to a place to receive that feedback. For the coach to provide focused and concise feedback, that we provide feedback with the strengths and the areas that they need support in. and to think about what needs to be addressed in the moment and what could actually happen later in a follow-up session to really dig deeper into strategies on how to address an area of need. Follow up that feedback session, and most importantly, to be positive and supporting. So I know that was really quick, and we have a few minutes for any questions and answers. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Professor Cindy. So thank you for your meaningful presentation. So far we have got one question from our participants that written that thank you so much for your great presentation. I have a question. Are there any disadvantages of visual mentoring? If so, what are they and what are your recommendations? Thank you.
So they're asking what the advantages of virtual mentoring coaching are? Yes. I think one of the advantages that we really see in the teacher's report have to be with, we don't have that delayed feedback, right? It's that instant opportunity. If we see something in a classroom that needs to be addressed, the coach is there to support the teacher, and that shift or that change can happen in the moment. So the teaching just doesn't go on. You know, if there's an area that needs to be improved, the coach is there to support the teacher. They can make that change and actually clarify any misconceptions, for example, or help curb any behaviors, or the coach can help the teacher further clarify a concept that helps the student learning. So there are lots of advantages to that real-time feedback. It's kind of similar to co-teaching, except you're not in the room. So there's not that distraction, right? It's just a conversation that the coach is having with the teacher in their ear to provide them another set of eyes in the classroom.
Okay, thank you for your answer. And then we have the other question from our participants. So the question is from Sejpek Lee from Cambodia. And the question is written that some teachers are not comfortable with visual mentoring. Could you share your experience on how you deal with this, as some of them might not want it to be observed?
Thank you. And that's right. And we found that in our study. Some of them were a little bit nervous from the beginning. So when we scheduled a practice session, it was important that, one, they felt comfortable with the technology. Some of our teachers don't feel comfortable and they get kind of nervous, like, how do I do this and what's next? So one is to walk them through the steps for the technology. The other is from the beginning to make it very clear that you're there for support. You're there just as another, professional coach and teacher to notice the great things they're doing and to provide support to help them grow in their instruction. So I think that's really, really important that you clarify the purpose, the reason that you're there. And then we found that after they participated in one session, their nerves kind of calmed. They were more open to the opportunity, and they really appreciate it. They like it, and they started talking, back to us more in the Bluetooth. So it's a little bit of a learning curve, but I think it's really important that the coach and the coachee have some time ahead of time. Okay, what goals are we looking for? Remember, I'm here to support you, and let's make sure we understand the technology.
Okay, thank you, Professor Cindy, for your answer. And we also got the other question from Mr. Manatkom from Cambodia. So the question is written there, do you think that providing instant feedback is a kind of disruption and prevent the instruction from going smoothly? Thank you.
Okay, so I think the question is like, how much does the coaching interrupt instruction? So actually we found that it starts to flow very nicely. So the coach has to be careful of when to provide the feedback. So if the teacher is teaching along and things are going well, we don't want to just interrupt the instruction, right? But again, it has to do with the communication between the teacher and the coach. Maybe there's a natural pause. The students are working in their science notebook, the teacher is circulating. That may be a good time for the coach to provide feedback. Or if there's something the coach notices in the moment that needs to be addressed, they could have that clue word like pause, or one of my teachers, their clue word was Abraham Lincoln. I don't know why, but she chose it. So I would say Abraham Lincoln, and she knew that was a time for her to get to the part of the lesson where I could provide the feedback. Yeah, we do want to be careful not to interrupt the flow of the lesson.
Yes, thank you so much, Professor Cindy. So, like, we have no questions. So, I think, do you want to say something to our participants, or do you have any something to add or
I
express
just
your
want to say,
feeling?
sure. Well, thank you so much. I just want to say that it's our honor to participate in this international conference at Texas A&M. We have a series of colleagues that are presenting throughout the conference. So it's our pleasure. And if you have any questions related to this, or you'd like some more information on what we're finding, I'm trying to go back to my first slide. You can contact us again here at Texas A&M, and here are our names. So we'd if you reach out and you'd love to ask us any questions, we'd get back to you on that. I believe our contact information is also in the program.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, so since we have more time, so you have any question, you can drop in the Zoom chat box here. I see maybe they have no question. So thank you so much, Professor, for your attending this session. Okay, so we have got another question. So from Satyam, so excuse me, participant, if I cannot pronounce your names correctly. So the question may be from Cambodia. It's written that I think immediate feedback is good. However, it causes teacher to not independently work. Is it okay? Deb, so please answer.
Right. So certainly we have determined before the coaching that there are specific goals that the teacher wants to improve. So we have a focus on the coaching session. So for example, if the teacher knows that they're struggling with student engagement, keeping the kids motivated and sharing and actively part of the lesson, then they know when we go in, we're specifically looking for those opportunities to provide feedback. So it is, again, that understanding that we're looking and the teacher is ready to receive support to reach his or her predetermined goals.
Yes, so thank you so much, Professor Cindy, for your answer. Yep, so we have got another question.
Okay.
Yep, the question is written that what should be a good preparation so that both the coach and the teachers reach the same goal?
Mm-hmm. So we do have, before we start any of these VMCR sessions, we do have a goal setting session. So I didn't present on that today. We only had a little bit of time. But in that time, we sit with the teacher and we talk about, okay, what goes well in your class? What are your instructional goals this year? Let's focus down and find one or two that we're really going to observe and work on. What strategies have you used before to try to reach that goal? And then what strategies are we going to try to use? And so that goal setting really provides the focus before the coaching session even starts. So we know we're very clear on what we're looking for during that session. In our context, we're also testing, validating curriculum. So it's also important in our context that we're following the lesson and that we're looking and supporting the teacher to make sure they're implementing the lesson the way it's designed to be followed using the strategies. So in our context, the goals are related to those strategies in the research lessons. But certainly predetermining what are the goals of coaching ahead of time.
Okay, so thank you very much, Professor, for your answer. So, and thank you very much for spending your time to attend this session. Yep. So, and also thank you very much for our participant for your participation and also for your question. Yes, so we are really appreciate with your great topic, and there are many people in Cambodia are interested in your topic. Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Yeah, we are nice to see you. And yeah, so now it is time, and then you can have a relax.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes,
It's
thank
a
you so
pleasure.
much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.